on Time Gentleman Police. He
Yeah.
was the director of the Blackadder Goes
Yeah.
Forth. And it's quite interesting. I think this has probably been talked about a little bit, but it's quite interesting the way that the famous scene of Blackadder, the final scene of Blackadder, came about. So was that, did you have a part in that where they all go out over the trench and they all kind of die and it turns into the poppy fields?
Yeah.
This wasn't a deliberate. This wasn't what you kind of intended, basically, was it?
Well, we intended, it was, it's a really interesting thing, you know, Blackadder being so successful, it's constant frustration that well, I kept saying to Ben and Richard, we must write the episode where they're all just stuck in one room like Hancock's Sunday at Home, you know, because that's classic sitcom. If you could do that, just have 5 or 6 characters at the most, and they just talk to each other. You don't need anyone else. And Blackadder doesn't conform to that model. You know, most weeks in comes Sir Walter Raleigh as the biggest part, or Dr. Johnson, or, you know, Flash Hart, who have these great big set pieces. And I pushed them for ages to try and do this thing, and they finally came up with the last episode of the last thing, and it's a brilliant, brilliant piece of writing, and I think we all knew it was all over, and it was very moving, and the way that the episode worked, I'm sure many of you have seen it, is it starts very funny and silly, and then gradually all the colour and the laughter drains out of it, becomes quite sad, and even the people you've kind of despised and hated, you see, it's very moving and wonderfully well acted. And what we wanted was then a brilliant scene at the end where they all get killed or probably get killed. And so we took over the whole of one of the studios at Television Centre. The main one had the main sets in it. And the one next door had this amazing no man's land. I went in there, it was seriously scary. I mean, seriously, even without, you know, the lights on. There's something spooky about it. Even if you stood in the set in Blackadder, you went into the trenches and you looked at the psych, you know, the blue sky above with the barbed wire, just, gives you the creeps, really. So the gallery, as usual, we're overrunning because we've done too many retakes or whatever, something's gone wrong. So there's a PA in the other studio, right, okay, cue all the stuff, lights go on, pyrotechnics, amazing explosions, and the actors hadn't had time to rehearse it, so they're coming up the ladders onto this no man's land which they hadn't even trodden before, and there's loads of earth and bits of real barbed wire and the explosions going off this dark, you know, and it's like, you know, 2 minutes to 10. I got on the PA and said to the girl, "Can we just want one more take, please? It's just hopeless," because it was hopeless. You could see them. So Hugh Laurie go, "Oh, for fuck's sake, what's this?" And he's, "Oh, I just trodden in something. I caught my leg on this," and it was really terrible, you know. And so Rowan gets on the walkie-talkie and he says, "I'm sorry, John, we're basically going on strike. It was really a horrible, horrible experience. Everybody here is really frightened, and it's fucking, you know, it's a mess in here, honestly, and it's a disgrace that we should have to do this, so I'm sorry, no." So I went home very depressed because it didn't have a decent take, and when we got into the edits and we cut this thing, it was fantastic, you know, and they bit when Rowan blows the whistle and, you know, "I have a cunning plan, sir." And we mended it that far, and then we had this awful bit of stuff on the end, and then gradually it's a wonderful example of teamwork that piece by piece, each person in the room, there are about 5 or 6 of us there, I suppose, has a different idea. So the editor, Chris Wadsworth, says, maybe if we put it into slow-mo, that would maybe just, you know, take the edge off it in some way, maybe extreme slow motion perhaps. And then the assistant editor said, "Yeah, I'll tell you what, Chris, what about going to monochrome at the same time, make it black and white? You start, your skin starts to prickle, you think, ooh, that's kind of interesting." And then Howard Goodall had composed the music. It was a single piano and a gym. And then they said, "What about slowing the music down as well?" And now something really starts to happen because it's an incredibly plangent sound. You know, we're mucking around with all the buttons. And then the last thing was that I think the PA said, "I've got a great idea. I think I saw a wonderful picture of some poppies up in the photo library. I'll just nip up and get it." So she goes up and does that. And then you've seen the sequence that they go up, the music starts, and then they all start to fall to earth. And then there's this incredibly long mix. It goes on for about 10, 12 seconds. And poppies appear to grow out of this monochrome earth and go red. And then it just says, "Blackadder, 1453 to 1917. And my only contribution on it was to say we can't put credits on this. It would be an insult to all the people who died in that war on either side. So that's everything else was done by all those other people. I had no creative contribution. as the most extraordinary thing that I call this touching the numinous sometimes, only about 3 or 4 times in my life, you do something which is based on maybe 10 years very hard work, and something happens, you get a little thing, you think, oh, and the abiding thing, people often say, are you proud of that? And I say, well, I'm proud of the people who made it, that I was in the room. I'm proud that I was proud to be with these amazing people who made it happen, who didn't give up under pressure and didn't shout or blame people, which would have been easy to do. And then this thing happened. That was the most amazing thing, because if top 10 television moments around the world, you quite often see it in there, along with the moon landings, that kind of thing. And that's why I started to be interested in the idea is how much are we actually responsible for anything that really happens to us? Because sometimes it is a sort of God particle moment that something really extraordinary happens that you're really only peripherally involved with. And I took this rough cut home to show it to Sarah, my wife. We'd only just got married. We were living in this little 1-bedroom flat. It was an open plan thing with a kitchen and a television and a sofa between. And so I was making some supper for us, very, very proud of this amazing thing that we'd done. And I saw watching it came to an end, and that fuzzy bit when the colour bars go and it runs out, and it's just the tape just going around blank. And Sarah's sitting there, I could just see the back of her head over the sofa. And I thought, what a cow, she's fallen asleep, I don't believe it. She's just sitting there motionless. And I went round and I looked at her to see her apparently snoring, and she was just sitting with her eyes open and tears were just pouring down her cheeks. It was really incredibly moving moment. But I say the curious thing is that one's main emotion when there was a sense of humility, of almost embarrassing to have been over-rewarded for something that...
Yeah, but I guess whenever any good comedy show or any piece of art comes together that's a group effort, is about all the different aspects of that coming together. So the performance and the writers and and everything. Chris Wadsworth is a fantastic editor.
He is a brilliant editor.
But good. Oh.
But it is interesting, just that thing of that's what interests me in life. It interests me is getting to that moment of excellence, and I say you can't legislate for genius. Nobody's a genius, really, but what you can take credit for is in not giving up when things get difficult and trying to go on and on and just every so often you get these amazing things we think. And I always have the feeling, always, when I've been involved in something really good, that it's not me. It's that one is a kind of a medium, if you like, a conduit for something larger, some greater consciousness that involves more than one mind.